really for the next 24 hours, we are talking about winds like this and actually increasing as we go through the afternoon and into late tonight. Enhanced satellite imagery where you're seeing the purples, the magenta colors showing the strongest portions of this. And there, what do you see? You see it working its way right on shore. A bit of a wider view with this. And we'll kind of see if we can get this wider view to show here. And what you actually see with this is the computer just wanted to cooperate with us. Yeah, impressive there, but here's a wider view right there. What you're actually looking at is on that left-hand side or the western side. You see this, and me and Dave have been talking about this, just how amazing this is. It's completely clear. It's all that dry air that is wrapping around the system, which was one of the things we were hoping which would weaken it, but it's just not going to happen, Dave.
You know, Jim, a couple of days ago, the track brought it up into the Tampa Bay area, okay? And it was going to weaken as it did because that drier air was going to punch in. But the storm had other ideas. That might go a little bit further south
the western side.
You see this, that drier air. So here is the back edge. But this dry air, it's trying to wrap around and into the center. Now, if this was to play out 18, 24 hours, yeah, it would eventually win the battle, okay? The drier air would. But you're talking about a landfalling near Category 5 hurricane in about 4 or 5 hours. So, yes, the drier air eventually will take hold, but it's not going to make a difference right now, which is when we needed it to happen. So, for the forecast path, bringing it onshore again near or just slightly north of Fort Myers, you know, a little wobble at the end will tell the tale of where it's going to come onshore. As it moves slowly northeastward, maybe 9-10 miles per hour, by around 2 o'clock in the morning, we're still looking at a Category 1 hurricane tomorrow morning right in the middle of the state. Now, think about that for a second. This is a place that's going to get 10 to 15 inches of rain. Now you're going to get hurricane-force winds in, you know, Polk County, Hardee County, Highlands County. That's going to take down a lot of trees, folks. It really, really is, especially as, you know, the rain's coming in and the roots are getting weakened. Again, they're getting, you know, because of all that rain, and then the wind comes in and just barrels them over. So that's something we have to be really careful about overnight tonight in Polk County down through Highlands County. Storm surge. Well, you saw what's happening in Tampa with that northeast wind. It's pulling the water out or pushing it out, whatever you want to say. But the opposite problem is happening around Cape Coral. And as the storm makes landfall, so here's Englewood and, you know, you go down to Boca Grande about here, the highest storm surge is going to be around Cape Coral to Bonita Springs. Sanibel's there too. See this purple color? What, 10 to 18-foot storm surge? I mean, that's unreal. It's a wall of water that's going to accompany the storm as it comes on shore. That's unreal. It's amazing, and it's very, very scary for those folks down there as well. So I actually did a measurement from the A in Tampa down to where the storm is. It's about 106 miles as the crow flies. So about 106 miles away is this monster of a storm. Yes, we're being impacted by this monster of a storm, but I'm saying the center of it's only 106 miles away. The red on here are hurricane-force winds. The orange are winds above 58 miles per hour, and the yellow are tropical storm-force winds. I know, you know, storms don't work like in a big circle like this. It's not a perfectly symmetrical look, but this gives you an idea as we move forward. Here's Wednesday, here's today, 6 p.m., this orange color encompassing really Pinellas, Hillsborough, Polk, just about all of us, everybody south of Pasco, with these 58-mile-per-hour winds or higher. Hurricane-force winds by this evening will be Sarasota, Venice to the Arcadia area. Then watch as it moves northeastward. And you're looking at Bartow to Wauchula, Arcadia, Sebring. By 9 o'clock, you're getting in those hurricane-force winds, wind gusts at least. And then Tampa, you're still in this 58-mile-per-hour wind. And even tomorrow morning at 3 a.m., Tampa area is still in that 58-mile-per-hour wind zone, so to speak. I mean, it's not exact, folks. This just gives you a generalization of how the next 18 to 24 hours are going to go. Almost always, with landfalling hurricanes, you're going to have tornadoes, and they're typically on the right of the eastern side of the storm, which explains where right now Tampa and St. Petersburg are not in the tornado watch. Because, again, storms coming up like this, the right hand or the eastern side has the best chance for these little spin-up tornadoes. And they're really, really quick. okay? So from Polk, Hardy, DeSoto, Highlands County, Manatee, and Sarasota until 5 p.m. But overall, outside of the damage you're going to see where this storm makes landfall, that will be the worst damage. Where this makes landfall will be catastrophic, okay? But for the rest of the area, it's going to be freshwater flooding, and a lot of freshwater flooding. We're talking to the tune of 12 to 18 inches of rain. Now, what's going to happen is, as the storm moves north, that drier air I was talking about, that trough is going to start to shear the storm. Well, what it's going to do is it's going to take all the heavy rain and it's going to shear it to the northern side of the system. Well, we're on the northern side of the system. So that's why you're seeing some of these rainfall amounts between 16 and 18 inches of rain. You throw that kind of rain in the middle of the state in these rivers that are already flooding, and this is going to become a huge, huge problem. So that's what we're really concerned about moving forward, is just the rainfall amounts over the next probably 24 hours or so. But it does look like, I'm going to wrap it up here, that by tomorrow afternoon, we should rapidly be improving the conditions around here. But between now and tomorrow morning is a lot of rough and tumble weather for all of Central Florida. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Choose Winters and Yonker, and we will send an attorney to you.
Top sustained winds, Allison, just a behemoth there in the southeastern Gulf. And as Brian mentioned, you know, there's going to be rooftops removed.
All right, so what you were watching was Fox 13 Tampa's full forecast as they tracked Ian. Thankfully, as I've mentioned here at Live Now from Fox, we can tap into all of our affiliates because we are a culmination of all of them. So I do want to take you to the full forecast now underway by the Fox 35 storm team there in Orlando. I'm going to bring you this raw and unfiltered on Live Now from Fox.
Going to be hearing a lot more of those reports come in to us here in the Fox 35 Storm Center.
Alrighty, so we do want to address the latest in the track, as Brian mentioned, kind of Charlie-esque, but as we also know that Charlie was a little more compact, intense, but a little more compact. This is a similar track, but much broader in its impacts that have spread far and wide from that center of circulation. Track on this now, taking this across near the Volusia County area, offshore, Palm Coast, and Flagler, and right on into the deep southern states. It will diminish with due time, but not before humongous impacts all across the area. So look at the current wind gusts right now. We're calculating at 44 at Claremont, 42 at Lakeland. So winds, as we told you, would be on the rise. We get to late morning, early afternoon, and into the deeper portion of the afternoon by early evening. We're really going to see these breezes propped up on a pedestal. Here's a look at our exclusive Fox model wind forecast. You can see these gusts as the circulation enters the peninsula in and out of the 40s and 50s. Looks as though we could attain higher gusts. That's why the current hurricane warning are in play now for Orange and Seminole, Osceola County, Lake County. We've got some tropical storm warnings on the outskirts, but bottom line, you can see the circulation moving across. Winds east, typically, again, dead center of that storm as you see the eye come across and moving on out into the Atlantic. Looking at future wind gusts along the southwest side there as it moves aboard. You can see it's really tightly torqued up here as Ian moves aboard here. Big time numbers coming on into play as that continues streamlining across the peninsula. Backside of that, we'll get that classic wind shift, though they're nowhere near out of the woods as this has to make landfall first, and then we start to peel back those winds as we go deeper into tonight and by tomorrow. We do also have to track these rain bands. Allison Gargaro live in the Fox 35 Storm Center right now with Fox 35 Storm Tracker radar. That we've seen some rotation. We had a couple of tornado warned areas earlier. Right now, just heavy rain, Allison.
Exactly. Right now, just heavy rain, and you can see that. That's going to be the red and yellow color on your screen. Most of it is out across the Atlantic, but starting to push on shore. So if you do live in Kissimmee, likely going to be seeing some moderate rain making its way toward you, Palm Bay, and all of Brevard County here. But I do want to go in a little bit closer to Brevard County because just a few minutes ago, we were tracking some rotation just offshore. But right now, those winds are just going to be strong as it does push onto Satellite Beach, Rockledge, as well as in Port St. John. If I actually stop the loop here, we can show where we could be seeing weak rotation. That's going to be these little green areas that you see just offshore. Now, a few minutes ago, we were seeing some colored red and yellow, meaning it could be strong to extreme, but that's not necessarily the case right now. I do actually want to take you out to our U.S. radar. So we are going to be looking at a wide view of Florida right now. You can see that center of circulation, and usually in in tropical systems. We don't see a ton of lightning, but you know just how strong Ian is right now, that there are several lightning strikes near that center eye wall, but those outer rain bands making their way from southwest Florida all the way up to us here in east central Florida, and now some of that rain in Jacksonville. But I do actually want to take us out to one of our graphics. It's going to be a power outage graphic. This was sent to us directly from Fox Weather, and it is showing that we are seeing an increase in some of that power outage in southwest Florida, as we do see those hurricane force winds moving on in. Here we go. You can see the power outage tracker. Manatee County about 10%, Sarasota 9%, and Lee County about 8% there. And we'll continue to watch this because, like I mentioned, there are going to be some very strong winds actually just into the Fox 35 Storm Center. Extreme wind warning. That does include Fort Myers, Cape Coral, as well as Sanibel. So we're going to continue to bring you updates on exactly what we're seeing on the ground as some of the gustiest winds that we have seen so far with this system will be arriving. Again, has not made landfall yet.
Right, and our local wind impacts as well on the rise as we get to early mid-afternoon and beyond through the overnight. That'll be the worst of it as we peak overnight into Thursday, possibly into about midday tomorrow. So we'll keep you updated. Myself, Allison Gargaro, committed to keeping you safe here, right here in Central Florida. Back to you for now.
All right, Jamie and Allison, thank you so much. We want to give you a view of our upside down camera in Siesta Key. You can just see how powerful these winds are from Hurricane Ian as that camera got completely flipped over.
Boy.
Wow.
Yeah, I got flipped upside down, right? This is in Sarasota County, by the way. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
All right, if you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, it is right at the 11 o'clock hour Eastern time. It is 11 o'clock. And if you are over on the West Coast, it is 8 o'clock in the morning. Thank you so much for starting your day with us here at Live Now from Fox. What you are looking at is a live shot out of Fort Myers, Florida. You could see just moments ago as the wind was blowing, but it appears that that camera has frozen. So instead, I am going to take you to a live view of our satellites. You can see a live look over at Hurricane Ian. We did just get an update here from the National Hurricane Center, which does confirm that Ian does remain a Category 4 storm with wind speeds of 155 miles per hour. That is the update just released here. We do know that the movement has slowed just slightly north-northeast at 9 miles per hour. That's down from the 10 miles per hour that we saw as of the 8 o'clock update. So just slowing a little bit slightly there. Located 45 miles west-northwest of Naples, Florida, the area that it is expected to make landfall in the coming hours. Our Fox 13 Tampa team has been covering this around the clock, as well as our Fox 35 Orlando team. I do want to send you out to Fox 13 Tampa as they provide the latest information on this ongoing situation.
They're saying this is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation. This is where the eye wall is actually beginning to bump up against the coast. So, you know, Sanibel's kind of right there. So it's just to the northwest of the Sanibel area. This whole region with this eye wall touching it, this is where your extreme winds are going to begin. Let's back it out. I mean, you go all the way back and you can see the size and the structure of this whole entire hurricane. I mean, it's raining in Jacksonville and it's raining in Naples. You can just see the large expanse of all of this, and of course there's that 25 to 30 mile wide eye getting ready to bump up and make landfall, probably somewhere very close to Fort Myers or just to the north of the Fort Myers area. Places like Boca Grande, right in the path. I'll bet Boca Grande actually gets right in the center of this and the eye of the storm. Up around Englewood, too, you're going to get some extreme weather in Englewood to Northport, to Port Charlotte, to Punta Gorda, as this slowly works its way on shore. Listen, folks, we're starting to get the rains as well. If you're in the Sarasota area, it's been raining, and these bands of rain are just nonstop. And every time you get inside one of these little orange or red bands of rain, that's where you're likely to get some really, really gusty tropical storm force winds. The hurricane force winds right now are only about 30 to 40 miles from the center of the storm, closer to 40 miles. So they're still a ways away, but the tropical storm force winds have started from Northport to Venice to Gulf gate estates up through the Sarasota area. So now is your time to just stay inside, and we're just going to ride this out over the next 24 to 36 hours, everybody. Winds are gusting 55 or so in St. Petersburg, 61 in Punta Gorda. And, you know, it will continue to go downhill from there. The path brings it right to the middle of the state and then eventually out into the Atlantic. But right in the middle of the state, guys, overnight, 2 a.m., it's still going to be a hurricane right in the middle of Polk County. So we'll talk about what impacts that will have on us and our friends at Polk County in just a few minutes.
Hey, thank you. I do have one traffic alert for Tampa drivers. It looks like things have really started to kick up outside. I already have a power line that is reported down on Hillsborough Avenue. The road is blocked right now between 20th and 22nd Street. This will likely be the first of many. So if you do not have to be outside on the roads, just continue to stay inside. Right now, it looks like things across Tampa Bay are still open. You can see drivers taking the Howard Franklin both eastbound and westbound. I don't see any closure information for the Gandy Bridge or anything for the Courtney Campbell Causeway, but once we do have that information come in, expect the Courtney Campbell to be the first of the 3 to close, and I'll leave you with a live look at a really rough Skyway Bridge. Those conditions are getting bad.
Wow, look at that. Okay, Mariah, thank you. Hurricane Ian continues to inch toward our southern counties. Let's get over to Fox 13's Matthew McClellan, who is live for us in Sarasota, right in the middle of it. What are the conditions like out there, Matt? Good morning.
Good morning. They're really now starting to pick up. As I kind of showed you last hour, you get them in these waves as we're used to seeing, you know, the outer bands of a hurricane. It picks up and then it dies down. Right now you caught us in a sort of a picked up moment. And I just want to draw your attention to this tree just down from us where on sort of the left side of it, you can see that it's already kind of bare from all of the wind that it's taken on from that direction. Some snapped limbs as well. And as these things go, you know, you always start with the small debris, and as it wears on, as it gets closer and as it strengthens, hopefully it doesn't strengthen anymore, you get bigger debris. You get branches and limbs and all of that. So looking across from where we are, we see several parking lots. You have sort of the tumbleweed-looking smaller debris, and the debris we are noticing is getting bigger now. But I want to bring in Jody Cohn, who checked in, Jody, Tuesday, you said?
We actually have tonight, but luckily Best Western let us in early today, so we were able to get out.
And you did not come from far. You were just across the way from here.
Right across the street in the mobile home park, which we're mandated to evacuate, and we knew this was a strong building, so here we are.
Yeah, smart thinking. And you were telling me that some of your neighbors are also here.
Yeah, there's about 9 or 10 of us over here, so we figure we'll all hang out tonight and have some fun across the street.
That's nice to have people that you know and are familiar and kind of be in it together, that sense. And that's really kind of from being down in the lobby earlier this morning, the sense that we got was that everybody sheltering here is, you know, everyone's in good spirits. Everybody's got their sense of humor. I guess you laugh to keep from crying sometimes.
Pretty much, yes.
What are you expecting to see? And we're listening as a huge wind gust moves through right now, by the way. What are you expecting, hoping not to see when you return home across the way after this all dies down?
Well, we're hoping we have a place to go back to. We've been here for over 20 years, and we've been lucky all this time, but any given day, we cannot be lucky. So we're hoping everything is okay over there. We're confident, we have faith in our little protected Sarasota here that we'll be okay.
Yeah, a lot of people praying right now. Jody Cohn, thank you so much for speaking with us. And Jody's kind of approach to this is what a lot of people we've seen are taking. Folks who evacuated just from a few miles away, if not closer. You have a lot of elderly folks who did not want to make a long evacuation out of state or out of the region. Folks who also didn't want to be in a shelter where you're sharing a space with a lot of people. So that's what we're seeing, folks really kind of knowing that we're in this together. And yeah, just seeing what this does. We talked to another guy who checked in. He's from Clearwater Beach. He was here working. All he had in his bag was a few changes of uniforms and some phone chargers. So folks are expecting the power not to last much longer. In fact, as we've been telling you this morning, this buzzing sound you may or may not hear, that's from a blown transformer. There is a generator here, so that's a great thing. But as we know, things can fail, especially in a major hurricane as what we're expecting to come through here in the next few hours. So power may not last. We know folks are really trying to charge up their devices, which if you're watching from home, I recommend that you do. And if you're watching us, good for you. You have power right now, but that may not be the case. So be sure that you also have a radio if you have access to one, a battery-powered radio, so you can listen to that AM/FM band and get updates that way as well, because it's not going to get better until it gets worse, right? So that's really what we're seeing here in Sarasota this morning.
All right, just make the best of a bad situation. All right, Matt, nice job this morning. Go get some rest and stay safe.
Thank you.
It's 11:08 right now, and just over in Manatee County, winds and rain are continuing to pick up at this hour. Let's get to Elizabeth Fry.
Hey, good morning, Russell. Good morning, Laura. Yeah, the wind is definitely the biggest concern here in Manatee County. But before I show you what's going on out here, I wanted to say that the county just came out about 15 minutes ago and said that all of their operations are in lockdown right now. Shelters doors are closed. First responders will no longer be out on the road. That coming out just about 15 minutes ago. So if you are at home in an evacuation zone, you just need to stay in place because these winds are getting very intense. Now I'll show you what's going on out here. There's a lot of debris in the roadway that we've seen over the past few hours. Not as much out here. We're in downtown Bradenton, so it's a little more tame than Anna Maria Island where we were when we spoke to you guys last, but you can still see winds causing debris in the roadway from trees. That's a lot of what we've seen so far. Down in Anna Maria Island where we were about an hour and a half ago, the roads down there definitely beginning to take on some water already from this rain. But again, the wind is the main concern. We actually are here in downtown Bradenton. We were looking for a hotel. A lot of these hotels down here are at capacity with folks trying to seek shelter themselves. So at least folks did heed those warnings to get to a safe location. But right now, this is definitely starting to pick up signs that Hurricane Ian is getting closer to shore. Not only are we feeling these impacts, but we're beginning to see them as well. There's about 15,000 residents here in Manatee County that are currently without power. That number has been growing all morning. Something, of course, that we expected, but something that could get worse as this storm goes on. So right now, the message as we get into really the thick of it, stay in place, shelter in place. That is your best and safest option right now. All the shelter doors are closed, so that is no longer an option. But winds and rain definitely beginning to pick up, and we're expecting it to continue to deteriorate throughout the morning. So hunker down, stay safe, just stay inside. That is your best bet at this point, Laura.
It's Russell. I can see sheets of it coming at you. Okay. Thanks. Take care of yourself.
Good morning, everyone. If you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, you're watching Fox 13 Tampa's coverage of Hurricane Ian. I do want to give you a little bit of breaking news here as the eye wall of Hurricane Ian is now beginning to move on shore in Florida. As of the 11 a.m. update here, it is still a Category 4 storm with winds of 155 miles per hour. We know the storm is about 45 miles off the coast of the Fort Myers, Naples type area there, and it does extend for 45 miles, so that explains there why we are seeing the eye wall start to move onto shore there. Again, we are talking about Hurricane Ian beginning to move on shore there in Florida. I am not sure, as we watch right now on Fox 13 Tampa, if this is a current news conference that is underway or if this is an older one that they are watching. But I do want to bring you back to our Fox 13 Tampa coverage as they continue to follow this as the eye wall of Hurricane Ian does start to move onshore in Florida.
Some people that had nothing more than just losing power, but that's important to get them back to normalcy. You know, there's others that may have really significant structural damages to their residence. You know, they're going to need assistance, and so all of that will be part of what will be you know, really an unprecedented effort in the history of the state.
That effort includes 5,000 National Guard troops and responders from 26 different states. 30,000 linemen are standing by to restore power. And the governor said 40,000 outages have been reported across Florida so far. The governor also reminded residents who do lose power to call their service provider. Do not call 911. And once it is safe to go outside, the governor reminded Floridians to avoid down power lines and any standing water. Stay clear of damaged trees. Don't drive through flooded streets. And if you are using a generator, do so safely. Russell?
Mobilization's incredible, isn't it? Wow. Here are the power outages in the Bay Area as of 10 o'clock this morning. Roughly 4,800 TECO customers do not have power, 3,500 for TECO. More than 30,000 FPL customers don't have power, and about 1,000 for TECO. We've got complete coverage on Hurricane Ian.
So what you're watching right now is our Fox 13 Tampa coverage as the eye wall of Hurricane Ian begins to move onshore in Florida. The eye is about 45 miles long, so that does explain why we are seeing the eye wall start to move on hours before the storm officially does make landfall. I do want to take you to our Fox 35 Orlando coverage as they continue to cover this from each and every angle.
at our Hard Rock camera. This is in Daytona Beach, and you can see the waves are really crashing onto the shore there. We are expecting a lot of rain and wind in Volusia County. So for those of you who are on the Atlantic side thinking, well, the storm's coming in on the Gulf side, we should be okay, you can definitely expect to have some tropical storm, at least force winds. We do know now that Ian is a very strong Cat 4, potentially a Cat 5. The eye wall very close to making landfall. As soon as that happens, that will determine how it hits. Looks like it's going to happen in Lee County. And this is a power outage tracker, just to give you an indication of where the power is right now. With those strong winds hitting that coastline, only 15% of people in Collier County are without power, 10% in Manatee. That's in the Sarasota area. Sarasota County, 9%. Lee County, which is where we think the storm will make landfall, 8%. DeSoto County at 6%. We want to give you an update on the roads as well. And Amanda McKenzie has been out on the roads for us this morning, giving us a view of how things are looking out there. We're going to send it out to her. Hi, Amanda.
Hello. Yes, well, we're on I-4 traveling eastbound, going through Seminole County, and I'm going to give you a live look now so that you can see there are not many cars on the road, which is very good because that means people have made their plans and preparations and are staying off the roadways. We do know that the wind speeds are going to pick up throughout the day as Hurricane Ian moves closer, so going a safe speed, limiting your time out is always important. Now, we also can report that the tolls have been suspended by Governor DeSantis for Central Florida as well as Tampa Bay, which will help push people through and not have to make them stop or slow down when it comes to those toll booths. We also can tell you that the governor has opened up some emergency shoulders on the interstate to help with any other evacuations throughout the state. Now, yesterday I witnessed back-to-back, bumper-to-bumper cars on I-4. Many folks, thousands of them, under mandatory evacuation orders. So it was a very busy day yesterday. So it's good that a lot of people made those plans and got out early. But from some of the people I spoke to from the Tampa Bay area, they tell me that they struggled to find gas and a place to stay at the last minute. So the governor is also letting everyone know that the West Coast could see some catastrophic flooding and life-threatening storm surges. Now, more than 2.5 million people are under some type of evacuation order. So if people didn't hit the road yesterday, you know, it's possible we could see more right now. But as far as the roadways look on I-4, which is one of those main arteries that people take to get from the West Coast through to here to Central Florida, things are looking good. The rain is starting to pick up a little bit at times. You know, we have a bit of a break, but it is starting to pick up some more, and we will continue to monitor those roadways for you. But for now, live on I-4, I'm Amanda McKenzie. Back to you.
Alrighty, we'll take it from here, guys. Well, here we are, 11:16, dealing with this major hurricane here behind us, presenting like a classic major hurricane on the satellite right now. We've got some new information in. New hurricane warnings have
here
now
locally
have just been issued. So, guys, go ahead. We'll take it live now. I want to update everybody on what's going on with this thing as we show you some tracking now, and you can see we've got ourselves quite a monster here on the southwestern side of the state, getting ready for landfall. Landfall will be confirmed once we see that eye wall bisecting with the shoreline there. So half of that eye wall comes on, the eye begins to split there with the land, and then that's when we can proclaim a landfall here there in southwest Florida. So here's the deal. We now have hurricane warnings up for Volusia and all of Brevard County. That is our latest development. We continue now with a tropical storm warned area for Flagler County on over toward Ocala, Marion, and then back out towards Sumter. Active hurricane warning as well for areas around Claremont and Leesburg. That's all of Lake County through the Orlando Metro and now down to areas south of that. Now, the latest forecast track home from NAC shows us drawing closer and closer. We'll ride up, approaching Orlando as possibly a Category 1. We are going to likely have maybe some hurricane force gusts. That is why we're under a warning now for that, to account for that type of wind spread. And then as we go a little bit longer term, Talk about this exiting off the Atlantic side of the state and right on into the southeastern states. Now, the Fox model has been really keeping a great eye on this and doing a fantastic job on all that and more. And again, we talk about the potential for some tornadoes around the region as we go through the day today. It looks as though some of these outer rain bands will continue marching steadily from south to north. So we have an active tornado watch now for all the shaded counties in this yellow here for you, from Seminole on over toward Brevard, in through the metro, down to Osceola County, and into Polk and point south as we await the arrival of Ian. It should be landfalling here shortly there on the southwest Florida coastline. For some live tracking now, let's head over to Allison Gargaro at Fox 35 Storm Tracker Radar. You're going to bring us up to date on what's happening in southwest Florida.
Yes, and I do want to show you the eye wall. You can see just how tense it is. It's on a loop, and like I mentioned earlier, we normally don't see a ton of lightning associated with tropical systems, but this is so strong that we're looking at more than 150 strikes right now. And we do have a ruler out saying that this is likely the start of the eye wall is likely less than 10 miles offshore. That's going to be near Sanibel, Cape Coral, as well as Fort Myers. So that's what we have in southwest Florida. But I do want to take you in a little bit closer to home. Let's actually go to our DMA view, and those outer rain bands from Hurricane Ian continue to impact our viewing area. So you can see it's stratiform rain. And what is that? Well, it's not too light, it's not too heavy, but it is steady rain. That's going to be the green that you see. And then dispersed through that is going to be some yellows and reds, and that's going to be some very heavy rain that's making its way onshore into Brevard County. Let me see if we can go down to street level here. So Banana River Drive, County Road 3, State Highway 405. If you live in any of these areas or know where they are and know your distance to that, some heavy rain is going to be pushing on shore. And if we take you in, we can actually see just how fast this rain is falling. The dark purple on your screen means rain is falling at a rate of about 4 inches per hour. So that's going to be just south of Kennedy Space Center there, and then continuing into Port St. John, across Merritt Island as well. But I do want to show you something about the rain. We've been talking about how there is going to be a lot of it in a short amount of time, and today a high risk for excessive rainfall, meaning we could be seeing flooding. And just as of 7 o'clock this morning, we'll have to check our rain gauge, but right outside of the Fox 35 Storm Center, we already had an inch in total, and likely much more, as we've heard a lot of rain overhead, and likely you have in your home. And something else that we want to talk about is that several counties, does include Osceola, Brevard, Orange, as well as Seminole, are under a tornado watch until 5 p.m. Now, we did track one tornado warning, Jamie, in Osceola County a little bit earlier this morning. We haven't seen any since then, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't, and we don't want you to let your guard down. That's why we want to make sure that everybody is staying in place, because with those outer rain bands, we could be seeing a bit of that spinning in the atmosphere, which then could lead to those isolated tornadoes. So this is something we'll continue to monitor for you. And Jamie, we are going to watch the intensity of this storm as it is inching closer and closer to the coast of southwest Florida.
All the while, our impacts will begin increasing here. We're now recording wind gusts across South Lake County on up into some of the northwest counties, and that range of tropical storm force, so about 39 plus miles per hour. That will continue. The rain will continue and become more constant, more frequent rain bands, and the isolated tornado risk as well, Allison. Okay, guys, we'll send it on back to you now, Amy. Brian.
Hi, Jamie. Thanks. Yeah, we've been looking at the potential storm surge there. I mean, they're talking 12 to 18 feet in that area.
Yeah, it's really scary. So this is what we're hearing from NHC Storm Surge. So if you want to follow them on Twitter, they are giving minute-by-minute updates. Here it is right here. Eye wall of Ian moving onshore. Catastrophic storm surge along with destructive waves as expected along southwest Florida coast from Inglewood to Bonita Beach, including Charlotte Harbor. They're telling everybody to, follow evacuation orders.
That's the most important part of that tweet right there. I mean, if they haven't by now, do it at this point.
And as Ryan just said, if we look at the map, we've got a zoom in of the map as well. 12 to 15 feet of storm surge.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly it goes down, but where it hits, which right now appears to be in the heart of that, would be 12 to 18 feet storm surge.
All right, so we are all over this for you all morning long. Here is another view. I believe this is down in Alligator Alley, giving you an indication of just how nasty things are out there as far as the wind and the rain. Just really scary scenes.
It's one of the few county cameras between Lee and Collier we have working. A lot of those have been knocked out. We're going to come right back, but that is the scene right now in Lee County.
Good morning, everyone. If you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, my name is Josh Breslow, and I'm your host for the next several hours. You were watching the Fox 35 Orlando coverage of Hurricane Ian. While they are in a commercial break, I do want to show you just some of the different camera views that we have as conditions are really starting to deteriorate all across the southern part of the state of Florida. And breaking at this hour, as you can see on your screen there, the eye wall of Hurricane Ian is starting to move onshore. This is happening over in Lee County, Florida, which is Fort Myers, Cape Coral there in southwest Florida. The National Hurricane Center saying there is catastrophic storm surge, 12, maybe 15 feet, along with very destructive waves in that area. We did see Hurricane Ian rapidly intensify over the last few hours into last night, becoming a powerful Category 4 storm with winds of 155 miles per hour. That just 2 miles per hour shy of that Category 5 storm status, which is the highest classification for a hurricane. As of the last advisory from the National Hurricane Center, which came out about 23 minutes ago, Ian is moving north-northeast at about 9 miles per hour, slowing down just a bit. But if you are watching us here right now, I do want to bring you that breaking news, as we have learned from the National Hurricane Center that the eye wall of Hurricane Ian is now starting to move onshore in Lee County, Florida, Fort Myers and Cape Coral area. We are transitioning here, I would say, between our Fox 35 Orlando team and our Fox 13 Tampa team, covering this from each and every angle. So I do want to take you out to our Fox 13 Tampa team. They have the latest on this storm.
Well, as Dave and y'all know, the past 24 hours, it's definitely a change on Hardee County. Prior to 24 hours, we were making preparations for, some tropical storm winds, and we're saturated here, so we was figuring we would have some power outages and some debris. But since that time, and as y'all well know, in Tampa, it's turned out that it's moved a little further south, and it chose our path. So the preparations is a little different, but our preparations from 48 hours ago is it put us ahead of where we needed to be.
Good.
Because we was looking, and preparing for the worst in case the track did change as it did.
And there's no way to know with a hurricane where it's going to go. But at this point, coming on shore is a Category 5. But even as it goes across the state, it will keep its hurricane strength and stay at a 1, just churning over that area. So 24 hours of rain, what is that going to look like for you guys when the sun comes up Thursday morning?
It's not going to be good as far as, again, the strength of the storm is something that, is always a possibility. But we were looking at dealing with lesser ramifications, so to speak, from the storm. Now, with the additional rain, the direct impact, it just puts a lot more facets in the possibilities of what's going to happen. Road closures due to debris and flooding is something that we're very aware of.
Are there any particular areas of the county that you're more concerned about than others?
Well, just the low-lying areas of the Peace River. Again, it runs the full course of Hardee County, and where the possibilities of historical highs is waiting to be seen. But the low-lying areas, those individuals that live within the flood stage of the Peace River, is going to see things that they've never seen before.
Yeah, this is unprecedented.
We have prepared the people for that.
Good.
A lot have left the area as well as they should and sheltered somewhere else.
All right. Listen, we've got to run. We got a lot to get to here, and I know y'all do too. I know you're busy.
If you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, it is 11:27 on the East Coast and 8:27 on the West Coast. We are watching, of course, as the eye wall of Hurricane Ian is starting to move onshore in Florida. Here at Live Now from Fox, we do have the benefit of being able to go to our Fox 13 Tampa team and our Fox 35 Orlando team. I do want to take you over to Orlando, as they do have reporters that were out reporting in the storm. I want to take you there raw and unfiltered on Live Now from Fox.
From the school district transporting people to shelters. They have cafeteria workers working there and school nurses on hand to help you. The other big thing that they want you to know is that they are monitoring the northern part of the county. So my friends in Astor, they're talking to you. No mandatory evacuations. But listen, if you know your area is typically dealing with floods, they want you to get to one of these shelters and then hunker down once you are in place. But I'll have some more live information coming up for you about generators and some tips on that coming up in the next 25 or 30 minutes.
All right, Randy, thanks. Boy, what a different scene that we're seeing, of course, behind us now, which is in South Florida, as that eye wall now is starting to make landfall.
Yeah, we are seeing what is going to result down in Southwest Florida from this storm having the most impact right there at a Cat 4, Cat 5 status. Very dangerous, catastrophic conditions.
Yeah, very few times have we seen that. We're going to go to break now. We're going to continue to keep you updated with the number of people out of power as well.
Experience amazing at Lexus.
Good morning, everyone. If you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, we are taking our Fox 35 Orlando team coverage as well as our Fox 13 Tampa team coverage. They have reporters that are scattered all throughout the state of Florida here, as we do see the eye wall of Hurricane Ian now beginning to move onshore in the state of Florida. It does appear, according to the National Hurricane Center, that the storm will make landfall on Sanibel Island. That is the Fort Myers, Cape Coral area there in Lee County, Florida. What you are looking at is our XRAD system that does show the eye wall there. You can see it inching so close as it does begin to move there onshore. I do want to go over the latest information here from the 11 o'clock update provided by the National Hurricane Center. The wind speeds do remain at a maximum of 155 miles per hour. That is a very strong Category 4 storm, so close to a Category 5, unfortunately. The wind speeds for that would be 157 miles per hour. It is likely, as we do see the storm move onshore there, that it should potentially weaken, but we are still talking about a very strong storm. As we speak, the mayor of Tampa, Florida, now speaking live to provide an update on everything going on over there. So let's listen in raw and unfiltered on Live Now from Fox.
Being fortunate in our area, but that's the reality of it. So we have talked, I personally have talked with the mayors south of us that are going to feel the wrath of Hurricane Ian, and also they're going to go through this storm without the preparation time that we were able to have here in Tampa Bay. So I've spoken to the mayor of Fort Myers, Sarasota, Punta Gorda, and Naples, offered them clearly our best wishes and then any resources that we have that we could send their way. The message that I want to share with our community, not only in the city of Tampa, but throughout the Tampa Bay area, is that we're not out of the woods yet. You know, it may be calm outside. We've seen the waters recede in Tampa Bay. Some people are out taking the photographs along Bayshore. But that is the calm before the storm, because we're still going to see, more than likely, unprecedented flooding in our area with 18 to 20 inches of rainwater coming in later this evening. And we're also going to have tropical storm force winds and possibly Category 1 hurricane winds here in the Tampa Bay area. So we're going to see downed trees, we're going to see flooding, we're going to see power outages. So please do not let your guard down now. Let's remain vigilant. Hurricane Ian is going to visit the Tampa Bay area later this evening, and we will keep you posted as we go through the day. We are continuing with our services, providing anything that our community needs. If there is information that you need, please go to our website, tampagov.net /hurricane. All the information is there. We also have the hotlines. Our call center is up and running. So we are still here for you and your needs. But again, those who have left the Zone A, please do not go back. This is not over. And then those who haven't left, we're still looking at flooding. So please heed the warnings and everybody be safe out there. Now I'd like to call up our fire chief and emergency manager, Barbara Tripp.
Good morning. Fire Chief Barbara Tripp, Tampa Fire Rescue Emergency Management. As the mayor has stated, we're still not out of the woods. Just a couple of safety things that I would like to talk about as we prepare for the post of the storm. Currently, we do have some weather stations that's located throughout the city of Tampa. And what happened with those weather stations, we are advised of the wind gusts. So in case of an emergency, first responders would not be able to respond once those wind gusts get up to a certain miles per hour. So we're asking you all to please remain off the streets, stay safe, because you would not be able to get emergency services to you for the safety of you as well as our public safety first responders. We also want to talk about generators. As we know, usually whenever a storm comes through, we will possibly have power outage. In a situation like that, a lot of families have generators. Generators should be operated outside of your home, not inside, and it should not be started until after the storm is over. If you have any questions or need additional information about the safety of generators, please visit tampa.gov/hurricane. That's tampa.gov/hurricane to get additional information. Now, because you don't have any power, a lot of families might light candles. Once again, that is a safety hazard. So you need to be extremely cautious if you decide to use candles. If you have a fire extinguisher, please make sure that is at hand. Make sure it's available for you. Don't go out in the weather to get a fire extinguisher. So if you have one, make sure you have one handy and make sure you use it appropriately. Once again, if you have any questions about emergency services, please visit tampa.gov/hurricane. Now I bring up the police chief, Mary O'Connor.
Thank you, Chief Tripp, Mayor Castor. Good afternoon, everybody. Just a couple of things. I just want to reiterate what has already been said, that we are not out of the woods. We are going to see some significant flooding in the Tampa Bay area. As far as vehicles are concerned, I really strongly recommend that our residents try not to take your vehicles out and venture out. We need our officers and our first responders being available and ready to assist our residents in time of crisis and not get stuck in water. It only takes 6 inches of water to reach the bottom of most vehicles. So if you are driving around in 6 inches of water or more, you may get stuck, and then we may have to come and help you out. Our shelters are still open. There are numerous shelters located throughout Hillsborough County. Tampa PD has been actively shuttling numerous homeless individuals to shelters this morning. Shelters are still open, but residents are encouraged at some point, once the wind speeds do reach higher gusts, as we are expecting they will at some point today, to just stay and shelter in place. Last thing I just want to mention, as I talked about yesterday with the enhanced property crime penalties, in the event you are charged with a burglary or a theft, if it's a second-degree felony, it'll be increased to a first degree. If it's a third-degree felony, it'll be increased to a second. Tampa PD did make 2 arrests last night. We responded to the IKEA off of Adamo Drive to an alarm call, and we did locate 2 individuals in the parking lot that were loitering in the parking lot. They had numerous burglary tools in their possession, walkie-talkies, flashlights. It appeared they were definitely planning on doing something at the IKEA. They were charged accordingly. So I just want to reiterate that, property crimes are serious. Do not even think of, preying on the vulnerability of our residents that may have evacuated. Tampa PD is here, ready and willing to assist if anybody needs it. Thank you, everybody.
All right, does anybody have any questions? All good? All right. Thank you all. Much appreciated.
Coming up as we head towards sundown tonight, we're really going to be at it into the early morning.
So that was an update from the mayor of Tampa as we do see Hurricane Ian, the eye wall, starting to move onshore in Florida. It's happening, of course, over in the Fort Myers, Cape Coral area, Lee County. The actual landfall itself is expected to be around Sanibel Island. As of the 11 a.m. update, the storm is a Category 4 with wind speeds of 155 miles per hour, moving north-northeast at 9 miles per hour. I do want to tap back into our Fox 35 Orlando coverage as they break down the path of the storm and what to expect.
Jamie, thanks. Just to let you know what is going on right now, the governor is going to speak at 1 o'clock. That'll be in the state emergency office. Certainly, they're monitoring right now as Ian is coming ashore. We're also waiting on Orange County. They're going to have a press conference soon talking about that plan as they prepare now for Ian to move into Central Florida.
We did hear from Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer yesterday, who said that the city of Orlando is under a state of emergency. He even offered that anybody who wants to move their car into one of the city parking garages, you can do that for free all the way through Friday just to keep your car protected and safe.
Yes, they're expecting some very strong winds as this moves for sure. Let's take things to Tampa now. Of course, we were watching that earlier today. That's where we find Dave Puglisi.
Yeah, Dave was showing us something kind of eerie about the water there in the bay, Dave. And is that the energy from Ian really just sort of sucking all of the water out and showing residents something they haven't seen before, which is the bottom of the bay.
Yeah, that's for sure, Amy. Actually, we'll give you a view of that bay. As you can see, it's being sucked out, and those two very large islands that are now appeared out here in the bay. And what's impressive about this part, this is the Hillsborough Bay, which borders along Bayshore Boulevard and Davis Island. That out there in the distance is the Gulf. So this is a pretty deep part of the bay, and it's gone. Now down the other way, you can see that there are a lot of you can see how much water has gone down all the way up through into the more narrow part of the bay as it kind of starts to go through downtown Tampa. We're also seeing the rain kind of kick up here again. Rain hasn't been so much of a factor here yet. The big thing has been the winds, and the winds have really started to increase over the last probably about 10-15 minutes. We're getting some pretty strong, significant gusts that are causing some problems, which is why Hillsborough County has put out some information to have cars get off the road. Now, we're going to wrap things up here in Tampa Bay, but let's go back to the station where Orange County is about to start a press conference. Back to you guys.
All right, Dave. Yes, we are waiting for that. Thank you.
And right now, let's get back on the roads as well. I was just outside looking at I-4, and it's still a little busier than you would expect. You'd expect not much traffic. There is a little traffic. Let's check with Amanda. She's been watching I-4 all morning. Amanda, what are you seeing?
Good morning. Well, we're on I-4 driving westbound, and you can take a look at the conditions right now. The rain has certainly picked up, and visibility has lessened, especially when you have vehicles in front of you kicking up all of that water. So we're seeing a few more cars on the roadways right now. It is advised that people do stay home and not go out unless they really need to right now, because we do expect the conditions to worsen throughout the day. Now, one thing, if you are in the process of evacuating, Governor DeSantis has suspended tolls for Tampa Bay area, for Central Florida, so it hopefully can expedite people getting to their safe spaces. The governor is also opening up some emergency shoulder use on the interstate. And as I mentioned, right now, traffic is moving smoothly. There are a few more cars on the road right now, but for the most part this morning, it has been very light on traffic. So we're going to continue to monitor these roadway conditions for you. Again, it's better to stay indoors. This is going to deteriorate throughout the day, so you want to be sure to stay with us on Fox 35. But for now, reporting live on I-4, I'm Amanda McKenzie. Back to you.
Amanda, thank you. The Fox 35 storm team has been tracking this storm 24/7. So when you're not watching us live on the air, remember that you can follow us online. Just go to your laptop, fox35orlando.com, or you should download the Fox 35 Storm Team weather app now. That's actually really important. Make sure you have those backup chargers around the house that are charging right now. I just texted my family and said, make sure that you're charging all the backup chargers. That's important. You're going to need them.
Teens are well aware of that for
yes.
sure.
Stay with Fox 35, our continuing coverage when we come back.
Stay with us.
All right, so as you can hear, we are able to tap into our Fox 13 Tampa team and our Fox 35 Orlando team as we cover this breaking news here. The eye wall of Hurricane Ian beginning to move onshore in the area of Sanibel Island, Florida. That's Fort Myers, Cape Coral there in southwest Florida. As of the 11 a.m. update, this is a Category 4 storm with winds of 155 miles per hour moving north-northeast at 9 miles per hour. That hurricane warning extending for the coast of southwest Florida. As I mentioned, our Fox 13 Tampa team also covering this with reporters that are scattered across the state. So I do want to listen in live, raw, and unfiltered to their coverage here on Live Now from Fox.
Area right in the corner of the county, but these are very quick moving. So even though it's not in necessarily a populated area at the moment, really within the next 5-10 minutes, this could easily start to work its way a bit further to the north and west and work its way into some population. And really not a big signature on the radar, but it does look like we do have something developing here. And I'll go ahead and I'll put this into motion so you kind of get an idea of just how quickly these are moving.
You know, we were talking about this earlier, and the fact that this happens quite often with landfalling storms. And I know Broward County had many tornado warnings yesterday, but sometimes they happen so quick. They spin up and they spin down so fast, and they're not your typical tornadoes, you know, not like you would see out in the Midwest.
No, they're not. But since these rain bands are moving so quickly, even though it might be just a quick spin up, they can cover a large amount of distance in a very short period of time. That's why you see this this polygon extended out so far all the way up towards Wauchula. So if you're in this area, you've already got the winds, but you do want to go inside that interior location, stay away from any windows. You want to go into that safe place because we do have this tornado warning now in Highlands County, but this also extends up into Hardee County as well. That goes until 12:15, so we're looking another 30-31 minutes now. And you see this very intense cell where we just continue to see these rain bands working their way through. So first tornado warning of this storm in our viewing area, but this is more than likely not going to be the last, unfortunately.
Not even close, because you know as this thing moves on shore, and really Ian is close to making landfall probably in the next few hours or so. You're going to get more and more of these, and typically they're on that eastern side, that northeastern side, when you're introducing the friction of the land and that spin and the way it's wrapping around, they can pop up. And as far as, yes, they can do some damage. Now, we're not talking about your big Midwest tornadoes, the kind that we're like, oh my goodness. These are quick little spin-ups, but again, they touch the ground, they can cause a little bit of damage. But, you know, you mentioned at the beginning of this warning, Jim, that right now it's in a very rural area. However, Sulphur Springs and the Wauchula area are at the end of that polygon. So they're toward the closer to 12:15 time frame.
Yeah, if it holds together. And, you know, we talk about it, on that right-hand side of the storm as it is approaching the coastline, that's where you see the most favored location for tornadoes. But you notice what's going on that right-hand side right now. There's not a whole lot of activity. I mean, we do have some of these isolated supercells in there, but most of that activity is on that northeastern side, northwestern side, so basically in our area. So this is going to be the area that we really have to watch for the possibility of tornadoes as we continue through the afternoon into this evening along that eye wall as well. We already have that extreme wind warning as this eye wall is making its way on shore. But you look at some of these cells, these kinds of cells here, and I know they are not in our area right now, but these are racing up to the north and west, and those are the types of cells that can quickly spin up one of those tornadoes and as they move into our area. But we're already starting to see more and more of these stronger isolated cells embedded in here that have that potential, not seeing any rotation yet, but they all have that potential as we go through the coming hours of spinning up that quick tornado. But already we're starting to see we have this tornado warning. We'll flip back over and look at the velocities.
I'm glad you circled those little cells off to the south and the east, because, for instance, Lake Placid, Highlands County, right along Highway 27, you're not in this tornado warning. It is off to your west. But Jim was just circling on the radar a little bit ago some other particular cells that are coming in from your southeast. You see them over Lake Okeechobee now. So as those pinwheel back to the northwest, any one of those could spin up a quick tornado, drop it down, bring it back up. They're not long-lived, but the point is that they can cause damage as they get down to the ground. So we try to stay ahead of them, and that's what we're trying to do right now, stay ahead of it and let you know that, hey, Lake Placid, hey, Sebring, you're not in this tornado warning. However, there are some cells off to your southeast that are pinwheeling around, and any one of those could, again, cause a tornado to drop down.
Yeah, and that's, you know, these, it's not going to take long. Go ahead and put the radar in motion, and you just see how quickly these are rotating around. I mean, these could, you know, in reality, these could be up in the Highlands County in probably about the next 20, 25 minutes, moving really a large distance. At this point, not seeing that rotation, but there's going to continue to be that risk that we see more of these really over the coming hours. Right as this is making landfall, you start to get that friction of all the very strong winds along the coastline and moving on shore. And this is when you start to see more and more of that rotation with these, because just the land interactions with this. But, you know, one of the good points of, you know, of anything at this point, I'll go ahead and I'll stop the radar and you look back at the velocities and over the past scan or two, really not seeing it intensify. We were watching some of the cells that were producing tornadoes down towards Miami last night, and we were seeing that very definite idea that we were seeing debris being lofted, and you're just not seeing that in this right now. You're not seeing any signs of any debris. You're looking at the rotation with this, and you have to look closely. I'll zoom in here and I'll circle the area that we're talking about.
Let me just, for those of you who just tuned in, because I know what's happening with our, you know, with our coverage here. I know you're coming in, you're going out, you're coming in, you're going out. So if you're just tuning in this second, we have a tornado warning out. It's the first one of the day. It will not be the last one until 12:15. And this is really for eastern, southeastern Hardy County, the place that Jim is circling right there, and extreme northeastern DeSoto County. Granted, a very rural area. However, it's heading toward Highway 17 and Zolfo Springs and Wauchula.
Yeah, and what you look at here, there's a couple of different ways we can look at these storm winds, and just because the winds are so strong in the atmosphere already, it becomes a little more difficult to sometimes pick out the tornadoes, but this is the area, and you saw as the radar updated there, we are basically looking at these winds 72 miles an hour inside of this cell. So we flip over and try and kind of pinpoint what we're doing here is we're subtracting out the movement when we look at it this way. So we're trying to just focus in on just the area.
Oh boy, Jim's doing math now, everybody. Jim's subtracting, he's doing math.
Yeah, hopefully we're subtracting and not adding at this point.
No, you're right.
But this is the area that you're looking at, and you can see how quickly it's moved. Remember, this warning started right here, and since we've been talking about this, this has already moved a fair distance.
If you are just joining us on Live Now from Fox, we are nearing the noon hour on the East Coast, getting close to 9 a.m. over on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and I'm here for the next several hours to bring you everything about Hurricane Ian as we see the eye wall of that very powerful storm beginning to move onshore in Florida. We're talking landfall around Sanibel Island, which is close to Fort Myers there in Lee County, Florida, the southwestern portion of the state. We have been tapping into our Fox 13 Tampa team coverage as well as our Fox 35 Orlando team. Right now, I want to go over to Fox 35 Orlando as we do wait for an update coming in shortly from the National Hurricane Center.
And our transfer stations are scheduled to close to the public today at noon, and they will remain closed through Friday. And with that, let me just also share some other information with you. We know that we have a number of people who have been evacuating from surrounding counties and throughout the state. They have been coming. We do have capacity within our hotels. At this point, Visit Orlando estimates that the occupancy rate is at 85% within our community. So we still have 15% capacity within our local hotels. In terms of the homeless, I get asked questions about, are we taking care of the homeless? Yes, we are. We're working very closely with our homeless shelters. We're working closely with the the Homeless Services Network to ensure that our homeless individuals are housed. I'm told that we have approximately 60 individuals now in non-congregate housing within Orange County as well. And with that, I'm going to ask Sheriff Mina to come forward and to provide some comments to you. And then after that, I will for our Spanish-speaking media, I'm going to ask some of our staff to come up and assist us in providing some additional details. With that, Sheriff Mina.
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon. So I just want to reiterate, the Orange County Sheriff's Office is prepared to keep everyone safe before, during, and after the storm. We have more than double the amount of personnel that we usually have out there on the streets to keep everyone safe. I do want everyone to heed the warnings that we're giving you, that after 2 o'clock we should not be on the roadways unless we're essential personnel. And for those of us who are staying in our homes, to make sure we shelter in place, the Orange County Sheriff's Office is assisting with the voluntary evacuation of some of those mobile home parks that are vulnerable to flooding and other damage. So we will be out there. Again, as I stated, we have more than double the personnel that we usually have out there as far as law enforcement is concerned. So if you see suspicious activity, if you see people doing things they're not supposed to be doing, committing crimes, call the Sheriff's Office, call 911, and those people will be caught and taken to jail, and they will face harsher penalties because of the state of emergency. And again, if anyone needs anything from the Orange County Sheriff's Office or law enforcement, please don't hesitate to reach out, call 911 or our non-emergency number. And we're also working with our other municipal police departments to ensure that we're all on the same page as far as the safety of this community. Our deputies, carry generators and chainsaws for the flooding aspect. We have many watercraft, many vehicles that can go through water for rescues or anything like that. Of course, we have our aviation, our helicopter assets as well for after the storm. And remember, after the storm, that people need to avoid down power lines and standing water. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Before I ask the staff to come up, we also do have several of our Orange County commissioners who have joined us today. They've been working in their respective districts to ensure that residents are safe. Commissioner Myra Uribe and Commissioner Maribel Gomez-Cordero who joined us as well. But also at this point, I'm going to
5 nautical miles, let's bring them out, 5 to 6 miles from the edge of the outer high wall.
At this point. First, familiar face to you.
Meaning in the next 30 minutes, conditions are going to go from this to White Out.
Our shelters and what we're doing with those operations. Then we're going to have our utilities director who is going to come up, Mr. Ed Torres. He'll talk to you about some of the efforts that we are doing in Spanish.
I like that open space where it's like
from our Public Works Department, Ms. Diana Almodovar, who will provide some information in Spanish about what we're doing with our Public Works operations. And so with that, Dr. Raul P.
Lines and stuff are going to start coming down here soon. Thankfully, there's not a lot of tall trees over here. That was the thing during Ida. There's a lot of tall trees.
Que el condado ha activado para su seguridad y protección. Hay 5 shelters abiertos durante esta parte del huracán para la población en general y 3 de ellos, la Paca High School, Oak Ridge High School.
Good morning, everyone. If you are just watching us here on Live Now from Fox, you are listening to an update out of Orange County, Florida, so over in the Orlando area, as they do provide a little bit more information as preparations are underway for the arrival of Hurricane Ian, the eye wall of the storm beginning to move onshore in Florida. As of the 11 a.m. update, so less than an hour ago, the storm was a Category 4 with winds of 155 miles per hour moving.
Which, honestly, the way the wind's blowing, it's not a bad decision.
I do want to give you a live view of our radar here.
Hiding us. Yeah, I'm just worried about that.
Eye wall there, that is about to move onshore in the state of Florida. We are waiting for an update here from the National Hurricane Center. They are expecting a storm here in the coming minutes. They said it would start around 11:50 a.m. Eastern Time. It's now 11:56, so it is most likely they will start very soon. We do have a feed that is connected here that we are watching to see when it does happen. We are also sticking with our Fox 35 Orlando team. They are in their full forecast where they will take a closer look at the path of the storm, the strength, and where it is headed. So I do want to listen in long enough to listen right now on Live Now from Fox.
What is this?
So we are already over that, and like we mentioned, we haven't officially made landfall yet.
Well, I'll tell you, we're talking about the local impacts, right? So as that circulation gets closer and closer to the Central Florida, we're going to see all the local impacts unfolding here.
Maybe we can, let's go scope it out first.
County,
and maybe we can
point south of that,
chill around here.
40s, so
that could be another potential.
Exactly. We talked about all week long. We were showing you the wind field, and it was the blue color, that outer circle. That's exactly what we're seeing right now. And then as the hurricane does move on shore and get closer, that's when those winds really start to ramp up. So over the next several hours, throughout the overnight hours tonight.
All right, so the most critical thing we got to tell you about, obviously, we assess the local impacts. Want to share the latest track from NHC. Current winds at 155 miles per hour. You can see here as it projects onto land, down to a 3, and then steadily moving toward Orlando. So it looks like we got a new advisory in here of some sort here, Allison. So folks at home, bear with us on approach to Orlando. Winds at 70, 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, and we'll continue moving off eastbound off the east side of the state, right around Volusia County, where there are now active hurricane warnings for Volusia and Brevard. Speaking of Volusia, I want to tell you about Oak Hill down the Edgewater over to Smyrna Yacht Club. Generally around the South Causeway at NSB, you can see this big area moving up into your particular spot there on the map. So I want you to stay weather aware there at any time. We could see some rotation as these rain bands projected could produce a brief tornado. That has been
at some point.
Film when it's showing the track inline with NHC doing a fine, fantastic job as we track this into the Carolinas longer term on our exclusive Fox model. So we do have some active tornado warnings now across DeSoto County and Hardee County, also Highlands County, south and west of the viewing area. Latest on Ian, and of course our tornado watch information that will go in through 5 p.m. this afternoon. That could get expanded and extended as the information comes in. The atmosphere now is in a state of flux. It's turning over to one that is featuring broad rotation across the region. So at any time, these rain bands moving through late tonight into early Thursday morning can produce a brief isolated tornado. Some of them can become quite strong. For more live tracking, let's head over to Allison briefly here in the Storm Center. Allie, bring us up to date there on radar.
Well, Jamie, like you mentioned, we have one active tornado warning at the moment, but those outer rain bands still moving into our viewing area, and we could see them rotate at any moment. So it's very important to make sure that you are staying with us for the absolute latest. And you can see that center eye wall is inching closer to southwest Florida right now. So Jamie will...
Should I face the car this way so I don't lose the back window? No, I think we're being protected enough. Because of the angle it's coming in, it's not coming directly at us.
35 Orlando. We will take you back there in the next little bit, but I do want to take you over to a
noticeably getting stronger gusts right now. Share this stream. It is about to get wild.
On it live now from Fox.
We're about to have potential for 150 mile per hour winds in the next 30 minutes, which is a scary thing to say. We found a really good little structure here.
River. You live on the
Hold this off the mount for
you need to be thinking about
I don't know if you guys can see too well.
Taking a bigger
but we found this big motel
all up and down
that's got this area underneath here that's really protected, and it's 3 stories high in case, I don't think we're going to get much surge here, but in case we do,
with the cone graphic, it's a little hard to see. But if you see here, the orange denotes the size. We talked about how the storm would grow.
Aaron Rigsby and Max Olson here. Hurricane Ian's approaching.
So it's not only
and we're currently in Ellenwood, Florida.
Big,
got
and that's the worst of the two.
Englewood,
and you can
Florida.
see as those strong winds sweep across the Florida Peninsula. The blue area is tropical storm warnings, but virtually almost the entire state of Florida under some type of warning, save the extreme western panhandle. And then the storm moves slowly. I think the word crawls might be better, across the central Florida peninsula, slowly weakens as it gets inland, but then emerges back over the Atlantic, and then turns back up into either Georgia or South Carolina. And then again, you've got all that strong onshore wind to the east. We talked about the onshore wind, so think about the surge risk here. There's a reason it's called the low country. It's flat and there's not much elevation there. So even a little bit of storm surge in these areas could be life-threatening. You can also see various hurricane watch also issued for that same portion. Watch is conditions are possible in the next couple of days. I personally like this graphic to kind of help unpack everything, because at some point there's so many warnings it's probably disorienting. The red is hurricane warnings or damaging wind potential. You can see as Ian cuts across the state, just basically slices across the state, a large swath of damaging winds, down trees, down power lines, power outages, and roads that won't be passable for a long time. So again, get where you're going to be, unless you're way down here. Get your inland around Tampa, I-4, get Orlando, get where you're going to be, and plan to be there for several days. And then you can see the various tropical storm warnings up along the southeast coast, the coastal Georgia and South Carolina. I don't want to diminish the rain either. A lot of everyone focuses on the wind and the surge, rightfully so, as we talked earlier in this segment. But a line or band of very heavy rain is going to develop along and to the north of the track where Ian cuts across the state. These are precipitation estimates or precipitation forecasts. The red is greater than 10 inches. The purple is 15. So basically a wide swath of 10 to 15 inches of rain. If you're not familiar with those numbers, that is a lot of rain. And we are at the tail end of the wet season. Or
I'm going to go ahead and
season
turn the radar off
so
that you guys can see everything
there is
potential
is high. And that's basically what I would take away from this graphic. Anything that is in this pink area or high, which is absolutely the I-4 corridor, is a high risk of very heavy rain that will produce flooding, flash flooding, impassable roads. I'm telling you, you just need to get where you're going to stay and plan to be there. We lose so many people after a storm because they get out and wander about. They drive into flooded roads. Power lines might be down. They just encounter. I know you want to see what happened. I know you want to see if your house, your neighborhood is okay, but please stay inside until conditions allow you to safely move about. And then also I want to note here, and notice the flood risk in coastal Georgia, South Carolina, Savannah, and Charleston. You're now at a moderate risk. And I want to explain this because since you're several days out from the onset, a moderate risk that far out in time is actually really significant. And if things continue to unfold, you could be placed in a high risk at a later time. So don't be too fixated that this purple here is only in Florida. I'm really concerned about the flood risk because also this will be co-located with the storm surge that we talked about earlier. Remember the onshore storm surge, and then you have the rain. The rain tries to flow into the river tries to flow into the sea, and it all just converges and creates a big flood mess and potential here in South Carolina. We'll be with you all day to provide updates as needed. For those of you outside of the impacted area, please be thinking about the people in this impacted area and be ready to lend them support, lend them help in the next couple of days. That is it from the National Hurricane Center.
That was the latest update provided by the National Hurricane Center. They started that around noon, so we did take that live for you. This is as the eye wall of Hurricane Ian is beginning to move onshore in the state of Florida, around the area of Sanibel Island, Florida, so Fort Myers, Lee County area. That is in southwest Florida. It is 12:06 on the East Coast and 9:06 on the West Coast. If you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, I do want to go over the latest about Hurricane Ian as we do track it very, very closely. So breaking right now, the eye wall of Hurricane Ian starting to move onshore in that Lee County area. The National Hurricane Center is saying there is catastrophic storm surge up to possibly 15 feet, along with destructive waves. We know that Hurricane Ian did rapidly intensify over the last several hours, becoming a powerful Category 4 storm with winds of 155 miles per hour. That is just 2 miles per hour shy of a Category 5 storm,
Something's making noise over
which is
there.
the highest classification for a hurricane.
roll
As
this
of
up
that
first.
latest
So,
advisory at 11 a.m. Eastern,
it's crazy that
Ian
it's starting
continues
blowing
to
all the way
move
through here.
north-northeast at 9 miles per hour and was located about 60 miles or so west of Naples, Florida. We know the hurricane-force winds do extend for a diameter of 40 miles, and tropical storm-force winds extend for a diameter of about 175 miles. We are talking about a massive storm that you are looking at live here on our XRAD system. We have been going out to our Fox 13 Tampa team and our Fox 35 Orlando team. We are watching the feeds very closely here. It looks like our Fox 13 Tampa team does have a crew out in the field right now, so I do want to take that for you, raw and unfiltered, on Live Now from Fox.
Show you some of the gusts that we're seeing right now. It is kind of difficult to see the rain, but the rain is blowing sideways across the street at a Longhorn there. You can see the American flag whipping, just an enormous amount of wind coming through the area right now. Like I said earlier, just a couple of hours ago, the wind gusts were not this strong. You can see right here, there's a tree where the branches have been snapped. There are limbs down on the ground. And I want to show you, as you see that, just some of the video that we did go out and capture this morning. We did go drive down to Osprey, and this is a transformer that we saw outside of a mobile home park. Right as we arrived, we heard the pop, and as soon as we turned around, we saw that it was on fire. It looked like a tree branch had hit it, and it went up in smoke. As we went through the area, the rain just continues to fill the potholes that are out here, and the wind continues just to knock out down some of the branches, scattering debris through the area. We drove through a mobile home park and we saw some damage there as well. One of the roofs already being ripped off. And this is really why officials have said if you are in one of those evacuation zones, there's not much time to get out and get to a safe place at this point in time. And here at the hotel, we've talked to several people that were not going to take any chances, including one woman and her mother who are just a few doors down from us. Go ahead and listen into what they have to say.
I pray that we have a mobile home left and that everybody's safe. Same thing, yeah, that everybody's safe, and you know, it's one thing to wish that it goes somewhere else, but then somebody else is impacted as well. So I wish it would just blow it into the ocean and go away so everybody is okay in the next few days.
That is what most of us are wishing at this point, but we know that the reality is that Hurricane Ian is here and is continuing to pack a punch. Now, again, with those mobile home parks, this is some of the damage I believe that you should be seeing right here. And that is why mobile home parks are one of the ones that are always evacuated immediately because of that debris that can fly off of the manufactured homes. And again, just a live picture back out here again, you can see the wind gusts still coming through. The rain is falling steadily. And now people are just kind of holding out, kind of hunkered down, as we would all say here at this Best Western, waiting to see what will happen next as each hour continues to go by. Again, another one of those gusts, and like I said, ever since this morning, the gusts have continued to increase in their strength, and we imagine that they're only going to get stronger. We'll be out here continuing to monitor what we're seeing. We'll be safe and sound right here. We're not going back out on the road. And that's another thing. We did see some cars going out there. Not a smart thing to do, especially at this point in time. Linda Cervani, back to you.
No, and that kind of leads into my question, Kim. In all the video that you just showed us, I saw a lot of some damage, but I didn't see people. So you think most of the people in that area are heeding the warning, right? And they've found where they want to be and they're staying now?
We saw people getting into their cars, hopefully leaving or going to somebody else's home. But I think really right now at this point in time, people are in their homes just kind of waiting out to see what will happen.
Well, that's good to hear because you can see the rain gusting behind you. You stay safe, Kim. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks.
You know, just to the north, the water in Johns Pass, it's getting rough at this point. Our photographers spotted a lot of dolphins. Can you see that? They're making their way through the pass. Really a compelling reminder. Obviously, it's not just humans weathering the storm. Wildlife is too. But with that in mind, FWC